Hi guys, today we're going to be interviewing someone that has created so many products of magic, all of which are amazing, and he has one of the best minds in magic. It's Ryan Schlutz. How are you doing, Ryan?
Hey, doing well, my friend. Doing well. Hanging in there. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, oh my God, thank you for coming on. Yeah, it's absolute pleasure to have you. What have you been doing recently?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Too much. Too much is going on recently. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know this. Magic's not my full-time gig. I do have a full-time job that I work, and magic's it's like my second job. So it keeps me busy on both fronts. But the lesser known is I'm also into photography and videography, and lately I actually for the last year I've been running a clothing athletic wear company, which is completely not related to magic at all. But a lot of the same fundamentals I learned from magic, and I can apply to the clothing world. Apparently, there's always a nice overlap. So yeah, so the last since COVID hit, it's actually been a busy year for me, regardless of being in lockdown and isolation. It actually allowed me more time to focus on all the back end stuff, which is, whew, for those who are out there who are doing it, like the CEOs and social media marketing and all the back end stuff to kind of optimize your back end of your workflow. So yeah, man, it's been keeping me busy. But magically, yeah, I've been on a very creative kick. So over the last year, I kind of put out a couple more books. I got another book in the works. I have a few projects coming out with like abstract effects, and so yeah, man, we got a bunch to talk about. So keep me busy
Oh
for sure.
wow, that sounds like you're really, really busy.
But it's fun. You got to keep. I always say you only got one life, so you better live it as best you can, right? So
As well, it's
yeah,
kind of a good time to be busy, because there's not much is there going on at the moment,
that is
with
also
COVID
very
and
true.
stuff. Yeah, so like you're not like because usually the world is so hectic and stuff, but at the moment everything's just all we're all like all indoors and stuff. So the fact that
Hmm.
you're busy is almost kind of a good thing. So yeah, that's really cool, and you got some new projects coming out.
Hmm.
That'll be really great because everything you create is absolutely awesome. Thank you for sending me the link to that
Sure,
lecture.
no problem, man. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's
It was
definitely it's nice
absolutely
sampling.
amazing.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It was
Anything
brilliant.
stand out? I don't want to put you on the spot. Anything stand out that you liked, or
You
or
know
you just
what?
kind of generally like the flow?
It was the first trick I saw.
Hmm.
The very first one. I absolutely loved that.
Oh,
Um,
good,
I
great. Yeah.
I loved that. I kind of I don't know when I go back to when we all go back to normal and I'm able to see
Hmm.
my family and stuff. That's definitely going to be one I'm doing because it's absolutely amazing. Because you
Nice.
do the first one and then you went on to the second one, and I really wanted to know the explanation. And I was like, please tell me. So yeah, it was really awesome. But you create a lot of self-working stuff, don't you, Ryan?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then real quick, just for people listening, and that trick he's talking about is on my at the table lecture. It's called the future card, which is on my DVD only slightly. So just for people who want to know what trick we're talking about.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
that's where you can buy that. I'll link that in the description.
yeah, no, no, yeah, I'm not really doing the plug. I know I'm not a plug person, but I want to make sure people know, yeah, what's
No,
going
it's all
on.
good because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
recommend it. I think it'll make their magic better. So
Oh, well, thank you very much.
yeah. But no, you've created some really great stuff, and I was watching your interview yesterday with Craig Petty.
Oh, nice,
And
awesome.
he actually brought this up. He brought up Locked and Loaded,
Oh yeah, yep,
which I kind of wanted to talk about a bit because
sure.
I've seen it and it looks so good. So I wanted to
Hmm.
ask you just like a question about that. So basically,
Go
my
for it.
question is when you actually created Locked and Loaded, like, was it the fact that you wanted to create a magic app, or did you think of the whole plot first and then realize that you could do the method with an app, or what way did you figure it out?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I appreciate you bringing it up. So for me, uh, yeah, I never. Well, I guess I know I told Craig, but I actually didn't give him the whole story, so I'll give you the whole story.
Oh,
Um, got to save some for later, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so I told him. So with the app, I actually had a friend who does development, and he reached out to me, and I don't know, just he's like, hey, he runs his own software development company, and called my buddy named Chris Turner, and he's just like, hey, I'm looking for an app idea, maybe for Magic. I mean, he used to dabble in Magic, and he kind of liked it, so he asked me if I had any ideas. He knew I kind of have creative, I was a creative guy, and at the time I didn't have anything, right? So, but so because of that little seed he planted, I always had in the back of my head like, oh man. So I'm always like, every few months, I might, if I'm hanging out with friends, or even like you already knew, I'm jamming with you. I'm like, hey man, I'm looking for a good app idea, and we'll just start talking about apps. But nothing really stuck until I was hanging out with a buddy, and I have a trick I did on my Penguin lecture where I do this like dream encounter where I basically say I ran into a celebrity, and then basically they fill in the blanks. They say like, who do you think it was? And it's like, oh, you think it was like, they think it's Shaquille O'Neal or Justin Bieber. And like, oh, Justin Bieber, yeah, it was Justin Bieber. What do you think we went? Oh, we think he went to Paris. We did go to Paris. And what do you think we did in Paris? Like, we thought you rode bikes. That's exactly what happened. Me and Bieber went to Paris and rode bikes. And then I opened an envelope, and I produced a picture, like a drawing of me and Bieber in front of the Eiffel Tower, like riding bikes together, right? So
Yeah.
that was the effect. And I've been doing that for a little bit. But then like, I'm always looking for ways like to do tricks differently. And I was like, well, how cool to be as like a kicker if like, they don't really believe the drawing, but then I show like my lock screen, and I have like, cause you think about it, like if you have a good experience, or like you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, like you might put their picture on your phone. It's like, that's like the new age of like having like a picture on your desk, right? It's like having it on your lock screen of your phone. So that was like, that's what the thought came. I was like, man, how cool to be if I could then just like touch the phone and say, no, really, it really happened. It's actually the wallpaper on my lock screen. So it was kind of like a kicker to that routine, right? And that's where the idea started. Then I was like, man, but it doesn't have to be just that. It could be anything. What if you just could like have someone name anything and it became on your lock screen, right? So once I had that thought in my head, that's when I started thinking, well, this is cool, but what would the routine be? What could you do with it? And then that's when the whole creative process, started, and all the routines that came up with it, like intuition test is one of the tricks, the driver's instinct. These are all tricks that I kind of produced like with the app in mind.
Yeah.
As so yeah, so it definitely wasn't my goal. Like, I'm going to create an app. It was more like, oh, the app could be a really cool ending to this trick. And then because I had that idea, then it kind of became its own thing. Like, it became this whole, because the way I look at it, I don't look at load as a trick. To me, it's not a trick at all. It's like a tool for the magician,
Yeah.
right? Because in the day, how I'm going to use it and how you might use it, or anyone use it, it's probably different. I mean, you can easily predict a card on it, like name a card, boom. But to me, that's just like the training wheels version to get you started with it. But after you start using it for a month, you're gonna like come up with like 1,000 better ideas than that.
Yeah.
Because really, it's just a shell. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's definitely one of those things that has so many possibilities, and I think people with really creative minds will be able to really make it from like amazing to like out of the park kind of routine. I think
and
even
they already
some
have.
routines as well. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, like Mark Calabrese. You know, the magician.
Yes. Yeah.
So even him, like after I had the app for like a month or so, he came back to me, and he put on the Facebook group for Lock and Load. He already posted a video where he had a really cool routine that I never thought of. It was like he like will go to someone and like borrow like their keys, their phone, like their wallet, whatever, just borrow 4 random objects, right? And then he has them organize them on the table from like 1 through 4, like put it in any order you want, right? And they has a whole by play where they change it. But no matter what it is, say the phone's first, the money's second, the Apple EarPods are third, whatever, right? The order is random.
Yeah.
Then he goes, that's so interesting, because before I left the house, I actually had the same address on my desk. I took a picture of it and put it on my lock screen. Now he shows his lock screen with the objects in the same exact order as on his phone. And it's just so cool. That's a cool idea. You know what I mean? That's a clever, like, I'd never had that idea in my head when I did the routine, but then like he just came out with a really clever idea. And that's just one example. And all his other magicians are like some are sharing it, and some are just sharing with me. Like, they're using it in their show, so they're keeping it a secret. But man, I've seen some like cool uses that I'm not allowed to talk about, but they're really, really cool uses. So
yeah, no,
like,
that's so awesome as well that like people actually, I think it's great when people take like, especially for an app, because I
Mhm.
feel like for this, what I would do with this app is I like carry around my phone
Mhm.
and I just keep it with me. So
Mhm.
then say the name of a card, and then you could go into a routine where they think of any card, and then you like get it out of the deck and do something funny with it or whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
at the end you could say, but you named any card, and on my lock screen is actually
Yeah.
that card.
Mhm.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of, I think, adding it to a routine, which
Yeah.
lots of people have done. Is really cool. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the way you're describing is the way I think it's great. It's like a kicker to a routine, right? It's just like it's a nice kicker. I have routines where I mean, right now, I guarantee you have other routines that aren't even card tricks, like that you could use this app for if you thought about it. Like, because I'll just give you an example, like a non-card trick. Like there's a trick where maybe the person has like they can make some random choices, and the routine is standalone. Like you do the routine, they make all these random choices, and then there's an outcome that you predicted, and and then you go, that's a cool trick. But then, even though, say for instance, they made I don't know, I'll just give you a they order something like 1, 2, 3. Then I go to them and say, well, what other order would you have done? Like that's the ending you did today, but maybe if you did it tomorrow, what would you do? And they say a different order, and I said, that's interesting. That felt like a free choice the first time, and the second choice definitely a free choice. You just came up with it right now, and then I show my phone, and not only does it have the outcome of their first one, it even has the second one they just said. So it's like it's just a kicker to like anything. Like you think about it, it could be anything you want it to be. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I even do like where I'll have like a picture of like a sketch pad, and then that way you can have a bunch of writing. And the justification is like, hey, I have a lot of ideas, and I like to keep them in the forefront of my mind. So what I'll do is I'll take a picture of my sketch pad. That way, every time I check the time, it reminds me of ideas I'm working on. It's a constant reminder. So now you have a justification for why you have this picture of your notebook on your home screen, because it's just a reminder for you. But now
Yeah.
you can predict anything, because that little notepad could have little scribbles and little things all around it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And you can get Locked and Loaded from the App Store, right?
Yeah, right now it's Apple iPhone only at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, on the App Store, yeah, locked and loaded. I think you got to spell and. If you put like an ampersand, it doesn't quite work. So just spell it all out, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. And I mean, that is really awesome. I also think that's really good price. The price is it
oh,
like £39?
yeah, 39. Yep, I think that's. I know it's $39, but I don't know. Is it just one for one? Is it 39 pounds? I guess it's the same thing. I don't know how they do it when they
Yeah,
go
I
to other
think.
countries.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good price because you get like thought of
Hmm.
cards, like it's just like you
Yeah.
sometimes you get like way more, like you get tricks that are like
Yeah.
over.
Like
And
honestly, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I really thought I could have charged more, but I didn't want to. I wanted to charge enough because obviously I had to think about the business side. You have to like make back, because I had to invest a lot of money to get this app even made, right?
yeah,
So I had to keep that in mind, because I would do it for free if I could, but I obviously I can't afford that, so I have to charge some money. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
But I want to
definitely.
charge enough where, you know, I want to charge enough to make it worth it, obviously, to justify making it. But then not, I don't want to charge $100 for it, because I wanted to make it still attainable to people. You know what I mean? I want people to buy them. I want people to use it. So if it's $80 or $90, it starts to get kind of too much for most people to get. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
people are like, I think I get this a lot where, people watch the trailer and they're like, oh, that looks great. And then they see like the $80 and it's like,
yeah,
I can't, yeah, I was going to
yeah,
say it's too good to be true. But when you see that trailer and then you're
yeah,
like, it's only 39, like you're like, oh my God, this is insane. It's so
yeah.
good. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I think I really like the whole idea, and as well, it's kind of, I don't know, app magic is kind of taking off. Um,
Yeah.
it's like there are so many magicians using apps that
Hmm.
it was a really good time for it to come out because like this was
Yeah.
it just like fits the right time. So yeah, definitely. And it's really
Yeah.
cool.
I
So yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah, I
yeah,
look forward to it. I look forward to it. Like I know, like because it is a good virtual magic show. So people doing virtual magic out there, like it's good for them as well, because it is a nice like automatic kind of built-in prediction for your virtual shows. And and also you think about it, like a lot of app magic, you are borrowing their phone, but this is the first time where it actually makes sense now in this new COVID times, where it makes sense to be on your phone because you don't want to touch someone else's phone. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah.
I'm loving gimmick decks at the moment.
Oh, nice. What are you into?
I'm just loving using them because virtually no one can touch anything. It's so great. It's like you can't even examine it if you wanted to. Like it and then it's kind of like you and when we go back out, I don't think that a lot of people are going to be wanting to touch decks of cards. Especially because
they just don't want to.
And as well as magicians, we do card tricks a lot. Other people have touched our cards. Other people don't really want to touch. I mean, you'll get some people that'll be like, "Fine, I'll just touch the card," But and then So, but you'll get some people, and I think there might be quite a lot of people that will just not want to touch anything. And Locked and Loaded is just perfect for that. So honestly, Ryan, I thought before we come into this interview, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to interview you, and
nice,
because I was so looking forward to it, and I was like, when I first asked you and you said I was like so happy, and I went and looked at Penguin, and I was like, oh, I know loads of Ryan's tricks. And I thought I did. And then when I looked at all the tricks, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how many tricks you'd put out, Ryan. And you put out so many.
Thanks.
And I was just watching trailer after trailer and just getting fooled.
Awesome,
I was like,
awesome.
Like it's so cool. But I ask people like, like what is their creative process a lot of the time.
Sure.
But like obviously a lot of your stuff is self-working. So when you put something out, do you like try your best to make it self-working? Is there any times where you're like, no, I can't make this self-working?
Yeah, I think that was the hat I had on for a lot of my releases, especially maybe not as much today, but like especially back then, because my first DVD projects was with Big Blind Media, and they were kind of geared towards that self-working world where I had some really good tricks, but he would be like, kind of challenge me. He's like, well, can you make it self-working? Can you get rid of that move? And I like that. I like challenges, right? So I always tell people, like, to be more creative, you need to restrict your options. Like right now, if I just told you, okay, I want you to, produce this deck of cards inside this bucket or whatever, right? I bet you can come up with 1,000 methods, right? And then almost too many methods. And then all of a sudden you're like, and you don't know the best way to do it, right? And it might be very obvious. So I'm just going to do this very obvious method because I have there's no constraints. What if I was like, oh, okay, I want you to produce this deck of cards inside this bucket, but you can't touch the cards. The bucket must be examinable, and it has to be done fully surrounded. So now I put all these self-imposed constraints for just because why not? And now you start thinking through methods, and now you start eliminating. And now once when you had 1,000, now all of a sudden you have like 1 or 2 that maybe work. And then what ends up happening is those 1 and 2 are still not perfect, and then you invent number 3, right? That's when you create the new method or the new combination of methods that make it work. Yeah. And to me, that's where creativity lies. It lies in that ambiguity, and then you have to come up with the final detail to make it fooling or whatever.
Yeah, so, it's not handed to you.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how I started off, and then so and then it's kind of I like it, and to me, I like the challenge. Like for me, I'm more of a creator than a performer. I mean, I can go on stage and do a trick, but I'm not going to be nearly as good as like a professional performer. But I have some natural charisma and stuff that kind of helps me out and gives me a crutch to live on. But for the most part, I like the creative process. I love like a good challenge where there's so many times where I've done tricks for people and they'll just challenge me. I don't know. They know I like it or something. They're like, well, can you do it without that? I'm like, oh, without that move? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's impossible. But then it eats at me, man. It eats at me. So then for the next like week, I'm like, oh man, can I get rid of that move? I don't know. I don't think so. And then I'll just wake up one morning and go, holy crap, I got it. You can totally get rid of that move. And then boom, and then it just gets me excited, you know? So
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of it's just I think taking your time as well. You're not just going to think of something straight away. Like
yes,
it's
agreed.
tough as well because sometimes I was talking to quite a few magicians on Zoom,
Hmm.
and we're just kind of having this jam, and there were like, I think there were three of us, and I said, oh, okay, we kind of like all did one trick, and we just
Hmm.
said what could be better, and I did this trick, and they were like, it's not really like you can kind of tell what's going on, like could you kind of get rid of that bit because it looks a bit
Yeah.
sloppy,
Yep.
firstly because I did the move terribly, uh
Hmm.
and secondly because it just didn't really make sense, and after a while then we come back the next week and I still didn't have anything, and then the next week I thought of something. It was like you said, I just woke up and had an idea,
Yeah.
um and then you've got it and it's like yes, I finally got it. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's really awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
i
mean,
i, I feel
good. No,
like,
go ahead. Hmm.
oh, you go, sorry.
No, I was saying, yeah, you said with your buddies and people out there who maybe you're in a creative rut. I'll give you like as a cool tip that I did. I used to host a magic meeting in town where I live in town, and probably like on regularly the 7 to 10 of us might show up, and usually around 7 or 8 people. But it's a nice small group where you can still like share and hang out without being too big. But one thing I used to do was like I used to give homework. So I'll be like, all right, so we only meet once a month. So I would like I put together this like these buckets like drawing. You would draw from like 3 different buckets, right? The
Yeah.
first bucket would be like, oh, objects. So it might be rope, cards, coins, whatever. It's a bunch of random objects, right? And the second one is effect. So it's like mentalism, transportation, teleportation, transformation, right? So they pull an effect. And then the third one is style, and it could be silent, comedy, serious, whatever, right? It's all of that. So they would
Mhm.
take those 3 cards, and then it could be playing cards, silent, and it has to be a transformation or whatever. So that's it. So then I would get that, and then I would have to go home and over the next month figure out a routine that fits those criterias, right? But we all would do it. And then sometimes it's really hard and you got nothing really good. And sometimes you came back with like a miracle that was like you never would have came up with because you just never would have thought of those objects in that way before. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I mean, as well,
so
that's so cool. And as well, if you like don't have, if you don't know anyone that does like, anyone like you're friends with that does any like magic, you can't jam with them, you could just stick them all in a random word generator.
yeah.
Just generate them. Like you could have 3 different web pages open, just
Yep.
generate all 3, and then you've got your idea. And I think what I really like about that, Ryan, that is such a great idea because as well, the card magician could get coins, and
Yep.
then he might have never, like, he might hate coins, he might not want to do
Hmm.
coins whatsoever, and then all of a sudden he creates this great trick,
Hmm.
and then it kind of like sprouts his creativity for coins, and he kind of now likes coins. Do you know what I mean? So it's just also putting people outside of their comfort
Yeah.
zone, which is
It's
really
like you
cool.
were there. I drew coins one month, and I was like, oh geez. And I'm not a coin fan. And I was like, all right. But then me being me, I was like, all right, I don't like coins, but the the exception to the rule is it can be coin like. So I went out and did like I bought a bunch of washers, like for like washers and nuts and screws.
Oh
So I
yeah.
got a bunch of washers, and I came up with a routine around washers and all this other stuff. So it's still coin magic, but just done with a different object. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
but it
yeah.
really pushed me to the limits. And I mean, the routine was like, okay, it wasn't my best, but it definitely got me thinking about other methods. So
Yeah, also, yeah, that's another thing. It also helps your like kind of method,
yeah.
how much you
Yeah,
know
not
about
everything
it.
has to be good. Like I always tell people, like creativity is not every idea is going to be a winner. You have to like, what is the famous, Edison, when he invented the light bulb, the famous quote is, he failed 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. And if you ask him, he says, no, I didn't. I discovered 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So it's all perspective of how you think of it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the same thing with magic. You find a lot of methods that don't work. So you go, well, I just found a bunch of methods that didn't work. So then eventually, if you try them all, you're going to find the one that does. So, and that's the thing. You don't be scared, just because there's so many times where I showed a trick to somebody and it was so bad. They're just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, Ryan. And then I show it again and again and again and again. And eventually they're like, what did you just do? I go, I gotcha. Finally got it to work, So,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah.
I think as well, what's also good about trying loads and loads of methods is in the
Yep.
end, and I know like, people say, oh, in the end, you'll actually finally get to that method. But I also think the methods that don't work, it might not work for that trick, but it might work for
Yes.
another trick.
Yeah. I
And
100% agree with you.
that trick
Mhm.
might be amazing, so it like when I think of like plots I'm trying to do, so sometimes I just sit down and kind of do like think one day I just sat down and thought, I'll create some sandwich tricks today. I don't know, just
Oh,
I'm
nice.
making this up, but
Yeah.
and then one day you might come onto it and it might be a really cool card to cross in the end, that you
Yeah.
never would have. I don't know, that's random, but
Oh, no. Dude, you're literally saying exactly how all my magic is created. I start like I don't know why sandwiches is one of those routines that I always get drawn to. I don't really do many sandwich routines, but for whatever reason, when I'm just sitting there, I come up with a bunch of sandwich moves and ideas. I don't know why. I'm just apparently I'm a closeted sandwich lover. So I'm just like, but yeah, but some of my best routines are just as you described. Like one time I came up a very fooling routine. It was, you probably watched it was on one of the trailers you probably watched, was where I just figured out a really cool way to control a card, right? And it just seemed so fair and free. But then it
yeah.
ended with a card somewhere where I was like, okay, it ends in a card that it's helpful, but I really didn't know how to use it. So I just kept playing with that same routine and same control. And honestly, it wasn't until like, probably months later of just doing the same control that, just like a fidget move, something you just fidget around with, like a move.
Yeah.
So I just did it so much. Finally, it just finally hit me. And I was like, wait a second. And then that was it. And then I showed my friend, and he was like, I have no clue what you just did there. And I'm like, because it just you come up with a cool idea, and you got to keep trying. You just got to keep, eventually the solution does show up, because you've just seen it so many times. It just takes that one moment where, I don't know, maybe you just woke up, maybe you slept an extra 10 minutes that day. That extra 10 minutes, your brain was a little healthier. So who knows,
Yeah.
man?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's just sometimes how it goes. And
Yep.
I feel like as well, another thing that might happen, you might be going through, and I've done this so many times. I've been going through and I don't know, I've been playing around with just a deck of cards, and then I've come up, let's say, with like a control. And
Mhm.
one time I was very new to Magic, and I thought this control was my own. Um,
Yep.
and I started getting so hyped. I was like, "Oh my god, I've created my
Mm,
own control." Um,
nice.
anyway, a couple of days later, I found out it wasn't. I sent it to a magician, and they were like, "That is not new whatsoever." Uh, which
Yeah.
I felt like,
Yep.
when you
We all
feel
been
like,
there.
oh
We
no.
all been there.
But then I didn't know about that before, but then I used it for the rest of my life because I think
Yeah.
it's the best thing ever. So it's the same with creating magic. You might find a method that doesn't work for that trick, but you might, just find one that just you will use for so many tricks later on. So
And
yeah,
you might have a slight variation on the same move that maybe it makes it a little more fooling. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what move you're talking about, but like, I've seen that happen where people come up with a slightly different finger placement, a slightly different pacing, and it
yeah,
does make the difference. The original wasn't quite as clean, but then even though it's the same thing but you still have a nice variation of a move. You know what I mean? So, and
yeah,
I have a
no,
few of
yeah,
those too. I definitely have a few of those where I came up with a move independently, and then it's like, oh, it's Derek Dingles. But then I looked up Derek Dingles, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see why they're similar, but mine is definitely distinctly different in this
yeah.
one thing, and that one thing makes the difference, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, like it could be like a huge, just whether it's as you say, like finger
yeah,
placement, or yeah, because
yeah.
that changes everything really.
But
So
there has been
yeah,
times where there has been times where I came up with honestly, I kind of make this up, the most crazy sequence of events with cars, like literally down to like 3 phases, like a 3-phase routine. I was like, and this happens, and this happens, and this, and then boom. I'm like, there's no way anyone's came up with this routine. It's too crazy. And then like in my own library, like in my own bookshelf, I don't know what it is. This happens to me all the time. I'll just pull a book off the shelf and I'll open to a random page. I don't even look at the book. I don't even care. And I opened it up and I saw a drawing in one of the pictures. And I went, that looks very similar to a trick I was just working on. And then sure enough, this crazy sequence that I thought had to be original was verbatim in a Nick Trost book. And I was like, all right, bravo, Nick, bravo, sir. You beat me by like 50 years, but it's okay. It's okay. So
yeah,
that happens all the time, man.
Is that feeling of like, oh, I had like so much hope for that as well?
It's the worst feeling, man. It's so bad. But like I said, you gotta strike out a few times to get a home run. So it's all good.
Yeah,
So.
no, one time I was showing my friend a trick and it was just impromptu. I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And he was like, he just sat there and he was like, that is not yours whatsoever. I literally bought a download like 2 days ago and that is the exact same trick. And I was
really?
like, yeah, I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I was like, how old is the download? He was like, oh, it's from like 2 years ago. I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Like,
You're like, dang it. You're like, dang
it's
it.
like, it's such a bad feeling, but yeah, obviously you create so much magic. You get that quite a lot.
Well, or do I come up with a bunch of ideas that are someone else's by accident? Is that what you're talking about? Oh yeah, all the time, man. There's so many tricks that I wish I could say they're mine. I go, man, you beat me. Oh, I didn't know, but they beat you by like years. Like you said, you don't feel bad. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. It's all good. But yeah.
They didn't put it out yesterday, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, well, sometimes I feel bad because sometimes I feel a little slighted because I'll be showing something at conventions, only at conventions, and I'll be showing people. I won't teach it, but then like, a year or later, like someone puts out the same trick, and I go, wait, did I show that person that trick? And I'm always questioning it. I'm always like, wait, did he just steal it from me? Whatever. But then I realized, no, think about all these magicians, especially like young guys, and everyone's like just constantly coming up with ideas that you're going to have a lot of overlap, right? It's just going to happen. Everyone's a deck of card can only do so many things, and we're all thinking about it in a similar way. So it's like you're more likely going to come up with a bunch of things that people come up with. You know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely. I have a friend that is working on stacks at the moment, and kind of like things that just kind of all fall into place.
Yep.
And
stack work. I can never get the stick, man. I've tried stack work a few times, and I always end up just abandoning it. I never like stuck with it.
Yeah, it's really hard, like and he was like, oh, I'm trying to create a new stack, and I was like, I'm not trying to like knock you down, but it's gonna, how many years stacks have been around for?
Yeah.
If you create a new one instantly, like genuinely, that is amazing.
Yeah.
But like one that is really, really great. Because that's his, and he literally said to me, he was like, no, I don't care how long it takes. He was like, I will literally sit here. He said, I will literally go to school, come home and just do this. And I don't care if it takes me 20 years and I figure it out when I'm like 40, I will find a way for this stack. And I was like, you know what? That's great. And honestly, like,
awesome.
It kind of inspired me because, when you're like, oh, wow, that's amazing.
And it inspires me. I don't even know who this person is. I'm inspired. I'm like, I like the dedication. So.
I mean, at first he was saying it in a bit of a joking way, and then he was like, no, but I'm not even joking. Like, I genuinely will, because and he's come up with some cool stuff, and there's been some really cool stacks recently that I've seen that have just come out, and it pushed you back into new deck order that like no one even knew about. And cool. After like several dealing and stuff and that's really cool. There was a trick called, I think it was called The Sting by Scott Payton, that just come out with Alakazam Magic, and it was amazing. I bought the download, And
Mm-hmm.
it's just brilliant. Like you find the 4 kings, you find the 4 queens, and then boom, you've
Nice.
got all new deck order. Like
That's cool.
from
That's awesome.
like shuffling. Well, like there
Yeah,
isn't.
shuffling. You're doing air quotes right now. If I could see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give away any like methods. I was like, I try to like not say too much, but
We're
yeah.
talking about stacks. Obviously, it's you pretty much you said it already without saying it, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Context was there.
Yeah, and
So
I spoke about dealing, so like
nah, I gotcha. Yeah,
yeah.
I try to come up with my own stack. I don't know why. I'm a glutton for punishment. Like I was like, well, if I'm gonna memorize someone else's stack, I might as well memorize my own. And I tried. I learned Joral stack first, which is you might never heard of it. It's called the 6-hour memorized deck. Apparently, you can learn it in 6 hours.
Oh really? Oh, that's cool.
That's probably why I was tempted. And it does look really random. Like it looks like super random. And honestly, he wasn't kidding. Like in the first day of doing it, I probably had 48 cards memorized. You know what I mean? It was actually pretty easy to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then it was always like 4 cards that gave me trouble. I was like, oh, 4 cards. But so I had that memorized for quite a while. And then like I said, I abandoned it. And then that's when I started trying to do my own stack. Because then my dream stack was like, I wanted a stack that was like I called it trick stack. So like I would have like 2 or 3 of my favorite routines built into the stack. So that way I could do stack magic, but at any time I could just go into like a bigger closer routine because it's already stacked to do the closer routine. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like a dream of mine. But so in my newest book, False Thinkers 4, I came with a really cool routine I'm really happy about. I call it RNG. And what it lets you do, you take a shuffle deck, right? It's a truly shuffle deck, no air quotes. It's legitimate, like borrowed deck, right?
Yeah.
And then during one routine, which it's a strong like any card, any number type routine. You count down to the card's there, and you're done, right? It feels like any card, any number, right? But in that process of the shuffling, and trust me, during the routine, there's a crap ton of shuffling. The deck ends up completely separated reds and blacks at the end, right?
Yeah.
So, which is cool. So it's not stacked, but that's also another form of stack, having reds and blacks secretly separated, right? So, because you can go into like Gilbert things, you can like Pharaoh them, you can go into red black separations, you can go into out of this worlds, or full deck oil and water. It's like the possibilities are there, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like, I basically designed this business card you carry in your wallet. It's called the RNG card. And the idea is this, it's basically like a routine maker. So you could do any borrowed deck magic you want. Then you go into RNG, which is like any card, any number. And then you can now close with like I said, a full deck trick that involves red and black separation.
Oh,
so
wow.
I thought that was a really cool idea. And that's one of my, honestly, of all the things I came up with, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of right now is that one trick.
Wow, that's amazing. Is that still like in the works or?
No, it came out in my book, False Thinkers 4.
Oh yeah,
but it's already sold out. It's always sold out. But
all right.
Yeah, I don't think I'll put it out as a download or anything. I love it too much. I wanted to keep it secret. So what eventually there'll be I came out with a hardback book called False Thinkers, right?
Yes.
And it was like the combination of my first 3 books put into a hardback book, right? Yeah. So I plan on doing that with the next one. So I have False Thinkers 4. There'll be a 5, a 6, and then eventually, I don't know. I don't have a time on this, and then eventually there'll all be a hardback book.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And that's why I did a series, because right now those who bought False Thinkers 4 have access to a few routines that only they'll have access to for like a few years. Like it could be 3 years or so that before anyone else can read it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
that's
hey man,
so cool.
but I can always teach you. We can, if you ever want to Zoom offline, I can show you the routine.
Oh,
I'll help
man,
you out.
that's sick.
You'll be you can go fry some people.
Oh, that would be so awesome. No, honestly, that sounds like such a good routine.
I'll give you the power, my friend.
My God, thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you. I mean, like you're that at the table live lecture. I was like, I haven't worked on like self-working stuff in so long, because you know, with the lockdown, like I'm just trying to go back to like basics and stuff, and just trying to practice. I've been trying to practice, like, you know, like as well. I've been trying to practice new stuff, new passes that I didn't know about, which really I'm never going to use, but they're quite fun to play with. And you know, just things, you know, and like when I went back to like self-working stuff, I kind of, I felt like when I first started Magic, it was like so amazing to me, thinking that, like, you know, when you see when you first start Magic, you know, you get like those YouTube tutorials, and I already knew a lot of your stuff was self-working. So when I saw that trick, I was like, wow, that what? I was like, what? That how? I was like, that makes no sense. And then, you know, it blew me away, and it was really cool. So definitely gonna be doing that when I get back to you know, reality.
Get back to performing.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think self-working has its place. Like, I'm always cautious with the term self-working, because I think that's what a lot of people, that's a term, obviously the industry is like created to make it sound cool, but I don't know. I definitely think self-working Magic is hybrid, because the more the trick becomes easier, the more it relies on you as a performer. So to me, it's like Magic it's like if you like, it's like an hourglass, right? I'll just use an hourglass because you see sand on one side or sand on the other side, right? So it's like you either have all the sand on the sleight of hand side, or all the hand on the performance side, or some kind of middle, where I feel like with self-working Magic, it's just like it's 95% going to be performance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which carries the trick, and it justifies the procedure, right? Because I think a lot of people who just do Magic without good presentation, it feels kind of boring, and that's where like self-working Magic kind of got a bad name, like up until
100%.
you know, myself and like other magicians like Joseph Barry and all these other guys, like, you know, these guys, like, they made self-working Magic cool because you could tell they took it away from the classic dealing trick and made it more like exciting and entertaining, you know, so it makes a big difference.
You know, like my you know, I when I first started Magic, I just like, you know, okay, I don't have a problem with, like, I think that the YouTube channels are great. Like, that is where a lot of people start, especially over the lockdown. There's been a lot of people learning magic tricks for something to do,
For sure.
And you know, I think Andy Gladwin posted something. It was like 40% more magicians now, which is amazing.
Oh wow, that's pretty
you
crazy.
know, yeah, so like, you know, like especially, you know, like people say, oh, like, you know, Magic won't be around for much longer, which I don't agree with anyway.
No, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that. Like, that's completely wrong in my opinion. But anyway, so he was like, and you know, the YouTube channels, I think they're great, but sometimes I feel like they kind of need to also talk about performance.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is just, you know, catch a break here, cut off, control it to the top, and then do you know what I mean? When I was watching your lecture, it was very much, you know, teaching you as well not to just do that. It was, you know, it was like, as well, when I first got like a Zoom class. I got Zoom coaching as a birthday present.
Oh, nice.
You know, slight hint about how bad my Magic was. No, no. It was just no, no. It was just, you know, I really like the magician. He's a member of the Magic Circle, so I was really happy to meet him, and I showed him a trick, and he was like, okay, we can work on this, and he showed me the trick I did again with like proper patter, proper performance, like actually, and I was like, oh my god, that looks so good. And he was like, no, but you there was nothing wrong with your handling. There was nothing wrong with your handling. It was like the actual performance. And that was when I actually realized that. And I told my mum, and she was like, oh, that's amazing. I was like, because she said, did you learn any cool new moves? And I was like, no, I didn't learn any new moves.
Okay.
I literally didn't learn any new moves. But you know, amazing.
You did. You learn presentational moves. You know, you learn like personality moves.
Exactly.
To me, they're still moves, right? They're still a different kind of move.
Yeah, exactly. I told her, and she was like, "Wow, that's amazing." And she was
Yeah.
fascinated, and I was like, "No, honestly," I just always, whenever I do a trick, people get bored really easily. Um,
Mm,
so it's kind of grabbing their attention, and especially,
yeah.
if it's just like finding their card, that
Hmm.
it's not as amazing as doing something, so if you have good presentation with that,
Yeah.
you can do so many things. And yeah, it's definitely like you say about presentation, definitely. And so, self working stuff,
Yeah.
there's I think it's just great, and I think all the tricks you create are amazing, Ryan.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of people who've seen my magic and stuff, like you notice, like my self-working magic is very hands-on with the spectator because, no one wants to watch you count cards and they just don't care. Right? To your point, they just don't care. But if they're invested into this premise, into this presentation, they're helping mix cards and do
Yeah,
things they normally don't
exactly.
do. It's exciting, and there's a psychological element to it because now they're hands-on. They feel like they're controlling things, and I don't care how good your sleight of hand is. It's like, but people will always just assume that, oh, you did something I don't know what you did, but you did something, right? But when
Yeah,
they're like shuffling the cards themselves, like they're just going to be more fooled because now they go, wait, I had interaction. There's no way he could overcome this shuffle, blah blah. So they kind of start making it more impossible. So that's what I try to do with like a lot of my magic is I try to just involve them as much as possible, right? So
I think
but
that's huge. Yeah, I think tell me if I'm wrong, but this might sound weird, and I don't
sure.
know who told me this. I'm probably gonna get a message from them because it was someone quite close, someone that I know quite well.
Got it.
I'm gonna get a message to them. I guess I send like magicians I know, like, oh, I got a new interview if you want to watch this. I'm gonna get a message
Nice.
from them saying that was me. But like
Got it.
so I basically they always said to me, anytime you're creating anything, if you can try and make it so they can hold the cards,
Hmm.
that's the best way, because as well it makes it harder for them to backtrack.
Yeah.
Like, how are they gonna, I think it was I was talking to Eric Casey.
Yeah.
And we were actually talking about an amazing trick, C3 by Paul Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. Yeah.
And that is very hands, like they're
Oh yeah.
holding the cards,
Killer
and
trick.
yeah, it's amazing. And he was like, he was saying to me, it's so good because they're holding the cards. And I said to
Hmm.
him, yeah, and it makes it harder to backtrack. And it
Yeah.
it's
100%.
I think it's really important if they can hold the cards that they do. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
That trick's so strong. And just like, Chad Long's shuffling lessons, another one if you haven't seen, that's a, killer trick as well. If you haven't seen that one, I advise looking it up after this interview because it's another killer effect
I will
by
make sure
Chad
to do
Long.
that. I'll also put it in the description.
Yeah, that's another one that's like from when I was young. I mean, I like how you casually threw out like everyone learns from YouTube. I go, I'm much older. YouTube was not a thing. we, you know, it was a little harder back when I was your age growing up. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not trying to
yeah.
sound. I'm not old by any means, but it just we didn't have technology. We didn't have computers, so like
Yeah.
I had to learn the old-fashioned way through magic books and like through just in person with people at clubs and stuff. That's mainly how I
Yes.
learned and through tapes and stuff. But
Yes.
so there's just a different time, but yeah, I get it. YouTube's just a modern version of it, and it's fine. But you're right. I mean, I think a lot of people are too excited just to show the method, and they never actually show presentation, right? And I think that's the biggest piece to make. A lot of times you think about why you like a performer. A lot of times it's not the magic; it's the person. Oh, he just made me laugh. He was funny. I love his jokes and whatever. Like you like it for those reasons. The magic is just another tool. Another part of him. But yeah, I'm with
Yeah,
you, man.
I really, this is something I really don't like, and I don't know why, because it's like not really anything, but I've seen it like quite a lot.
Hmm.
I have a friend. He's really, really like skilled. He has really great card handling, and
Hmm.
he said to me, he said my brother, his brother does magic, and he said my brother said to me, he looked at an Instagram post, and it was a
Mm.
guy, and it was so, he sent it to me, and it was so like entertaining, you know. The performance was brilliant, but
Yeah.
because it didn't fool him, it wasn't a good
Mm.
trick.
Oh, weird. Interesting.
And I was like, but just because it didn't fool you, it doesn't mean he didn't do it well. You know,
Yeah.
you know, most magicians can see someone palm a card off the top of the deck.
For
Or,
sure.
you know, most magicians can see someone do a side steal, but it doesn't mean that we don't think it's well done. You
Yep.
know, just because it's just, you know, so I kind of thought, you know, it's just, you know, I think that performance is really important.
Oh,
And yeah,
yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I don't like, obviously being fooled is great as a magician. It doesn't happen. The more you're in Magic, especially, you know, as you get older, it gets less and less and less. But you get fooled. But then but that's only one thing I care about. Every once in a while, it's fun to feel like a kid again. But lately, like, you don't have to fool me. I just love good concepts, good ideas, good presentational ploys, good handlings of a trick that I've seen before. That's what I get excited about. I
Yeah.
saw her trick. I was on a Zoom call with David Regal,
Oh yeah,
and he just
amazing.
showed me a trick, and it
Brilliant.
didn't fool me, but I
Yeah.
was freaking loved it. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
was like, it was so good, and because the method was really hitting well. Like, it wasn't like an immediate, like, oh, I know how it works. But then at the same time, I said, there's only one way this works. It has to be this. But so sometimes you just know the method because there's no other method that would work. But then I was like, man, I love it, and I didn't care. He's, oh yeah, whatever. But I was like, no, that's freaking amazing. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that trick all the time. I freaking love that idea. You know, so I just get
Yeah.
excited by the ideas. Like, I love that stuff.
Yeah, no, oh, as I actually said about him earlier, you know, Craig Petty,
Yeah, yeah.
he does magic lives every day. And
Mm.
I was actually like, I always watch his magic lives every day at 6 o'clock. You know, I always go
Oh,
on there and
nice.
have a look. And most of the time, it is actually like some of it fools me, but some of it is stuff that doesn't fool me, but I've never seen it before. And
Yes.
I look at it and I'm like, genuinely,
Mhm.
that is so good. And
Yes.
it
Yeah.
and it like the whole patter of it, everything is
Mhm.
just done so well. And you know, like, I'm gonna use that now. I'm gonna
Yeah.
use that trick. And you know, like, you know, just because it didn't fool me doesn't mean it's a bad trick, you know.
Yeah. I think when you're starting out, I think when you're just, it's all about where you are in Magic and what your goal is Magic. Because, like, if your goal is just to collect secrets, then obviously, yeah, the trick doesn't fool you. Then that's not a secret you can collect. But if your goal is to entertain people, then you have a different filter. Like, if it fools you, cool. But really, you're like, well, if I show my mom that trick tomorrow, would she be blown away? And then the answer is yes. You get really excited. You're like, wow, I love that presentation. I love that idea. And that's what gets me excited today. I just love seeing cool concepts. You know what I mean? I don't really care about the method a lot of times. It's like, oh yeah, it's a cool method, whatever. But that presentation ploy,
Yeah.
love that idea. So good, so good.
Yeah, especially when you said about David Regal, his presentation is amazing.
He's a guy. I love that guy, man. He's off the wall sometimes. I'll show him a trick. He'll make some suggestions for me, and I'm always like, that is very Regal, not very me, but I appreciate the suggestion. It's so out there. But you know, every once in a while, he'll throw some good ideas, obviously, your way. But you know, it's cool. I love him. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, and then also it's so cool to be fooled sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get full with, like, a lot of times non-card Magic will just destroy me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like stage. I don't understand stage Magic, so like I'll watch stage Magic, and my mind is just like, I have no clue what has happened. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't really know the basic methods of stage Magic, so therefore, I'm a kid in the candy store. I'm just like, whatever you say, boss. Yep. Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. No,
That person's cut in half. Yep. They're definitely dead right now. Wait, she's not cut in half. I'm like, what? You know. So
it's like
yeah.
the stage illusions. Like whenever
Oh yeah.
my parents or my brother see that, they're like, you know, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
how did they do that? And I'm like, I have got no clue whatsoever.
No clue. No, me
Like,
neither. I have no clue.
like
Yeah.
you know, you might as well have just don't even ask me, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you know, like the whole, there was like 100, and it was like 100 years of sawing in half. It was like a month ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they were like going through it, and
Hmm.
everyone like I was watching it. I think it was on the Magic Circle Unlocked, and I was watching
Okay.
it, and it was like, and everyone was saying, "Oh, such a great effect! I love that." And I was just sitting there like, I have got no idea how that works.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, I know the base. I know some like old methods, but obviously the new methods that they're doing
Yeah,
today,
it's
I'm
the
like,
new methods.
I don't know what
Yeah.
they're doing. I literally have no clue. 95% of those routines. I'm all like, I don't know. That beats me. I
And
don't
then
think big illusion. So.
yeah, and then as soon as someone has a deck of cards, you know,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you can like you can figure out the method. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what gets me now, usually if I get fooled by a card trick, it's just really well presented. And that's what I'm
yeah,
saying, presentation. Like the last time I got destroyed, I was at a convention and then like destroyed. I was able to backtrack it, but I had to watch it 3 times, him perform, because he was a dealer. So I watched it three times and still had no clue. But then I had to like, I was able to recreate it at home, but man, I had to obsess over it. Like, so obviously I was fooled badly. You know what I mean? Like, because if I only had one viewing, I would never figure it out. But even 2 viewings, I wouldn't figure it out, which is crazy. Crazy for if you can watch a card trick twice and not have an idea, that's pretty freaking amazing. Like I
yeah.
don't know, like I have no clue.
It's usually the second time where you're watching and you start picking things
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
I mean,
but if you
yeah,
don't, it's like what? Um,
yeah.
a
You
lot,
got nothing. You're like, I got nothing.
a lot.
So,
Yeah, it's
hmm
so true. It's just so true. No,
hmm
a lot of products just do that to me. I'm just like sitting there watching the trailer,
oh
um,
yeah,
and you know,
like
so
like I don't know none of that. Like Nicholas Lawrence, like I don't know how any of his stuff works. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
yeah,
that stuff hurts my brain. Like I don't
yeah.
visual magic like that, like YouTube, whatever you want, Instagram magic. I'm always like, I got no clue. I know it's a
Uh,
flap. I know it's a flap or something, but even then, I'm like, but how would I don't know. I don't screw it. Something flap related, I'm sure.
and then they start like, and then like I was watching this review show, and
Mhm.
they were like, oh, maybe I just gave away too much method. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I
Like,
still have no clue how it works.
like they said something, and I was just like, and this was like yesterday as well. I'm not even like,
Yeah,
you know, I'm not like
yeah,
this wasn't like my first day of magic. I was just
got it.
sitting there thinking like, I
Nice.
still don't know what you've just said. And it was like,
No,
it's
that's
like you
me.
say, it's one of those like Instagram pieces.
Yeah, I have no clue. I see that stuff all the time. I'm always like, I have no clue. I just, I mean, it's all good. I mean, like I said, it's fun to. I don't even try. I'll think about it for about 3 seconds, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. You know, like I said, I had one trick. I said I watched it so many times. I would just genuinely wanted to do the trick, and I was just like, I'm gonna try to figure this out. But it was fun. I could have bought it, granted, but I didn't. Mostly because I like the challenge of trying to figure it out and try to like work it. And
Is
it took
that
me a long time.
the
And
one at the convention? Did you end up making that?
I made it up. I did make it up. I made it up. I made my own version of it. Like I never performed it on. I performed it on like just a magic meeting. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I still want to find the person who made it, and I feel like I want to buy it just because before I kind of like my buddy Caleb. I was like before I start performing tricks like on out in public, if I end up doing the trick, I try to at least buy the trick, so that way I at least say thank you. You know what I mean? Like try to
Yeah.
support the community. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
So
yeah.
but I want to. I think it was called like what was the name of the trick? I want to say it was like the jalapeno card trick. It had like a weird name like that, like a food name.
What dealer was
Oh, I
it?
think it was called Stram. I think it was called. No, I think I just figured. I think it's called Stromboli. I think it's called. But man, fooling, dude. Even now I'm thinking back on it. I go, why am I not doing that trick right now? It's so good. It's just so good. It's
Oh
like
my
it
god.
starts off like you think you know, like I know this trick's going, and then it's just layered. There's like 5 or 6 kickers. Like there's like so many kickers, and then I remember the last one, I was just destroyed. I was like, oh no. I was like, no. You know when you're just like, come on, man, come on. You know, but whatever.
No,
So
it's like it's like sometimes I just watch magic, and I think sometimes when I watch it once I watched the trick in person, and it was at a
mhm,
really good show. It was for Christmas. My parents bought it for me, and the
nice.
magician, he knew I was a magician. He knew that I did
Okay,
some stuff. I showed him a trick, and he was like, "Wow, that's really really good." Um,
nice.
and to be honest, I think he was just being kind. Uh,
Hey, all professionals gotta be kind, man. They
yeah,
gotta be
you know,
kind.
I was like really new, and I was just doing my own version of Triumph. And I
Nice.
think he liked the version, but obviously it definitely didn't fool him. And
Yeah, yeah.
he was doing the trick. He was doing a trick, and it fooled me so many times. And I just sometimes I think they might think I'm a bit like, I think they might think that I'm laughing at their trick because
Yeah,
I don't know, but whenever something falls me, I just sit there and laugh. I
yeah.
just laugh. I'm like, what? How does that work? Like, that
No,
is so good. Like,
that's awesome.
I don't
That's
know.
good
Like,
though.
it's it just like kind of makes you smile.
Yeah, yeah. I have
Uh,
friends like that too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just like so cool. But
love it.
yeah, I actually wanted to ask you. I wrote
Sure,
I wrote one thing down on a piece of paper before I come in.
sure.
Because yeah, and I actually wanted to ask you, out of all the tricks you've put out,
Hmm.
or like books or DVDs or whatever, what is
Yeah,
your favorite one?
yeah. Well, I think I gave it away earlier. I did mention one of my new favorite ones was that RNG trick. That was one of my
Yeah,
favorite. That's probably my favorite one on record at the moment. But before that one's it's a tough question, man. It's like naming your favorite, like your favorite child, your favorite music. Oh man, let's see here. I guess my, I guess I don't. I guess I'm biased a little bit because some of my favorite ones maybe no one's really seen. You know what I mean? But like, but I guess the ones that made me have a name, I guess I'm more like I'm happy they were good and happy they're my pivotal peak. I have a peak out there.
yeah,
That was the first thing I ever published, and it's really kind of got me down the path of creating. So like I feel like for that reason, it's like one of my favorite ones. You know what I mean? And then I have another trick on Vanishing called Sensational, which is like one of my very first like hands off magic. Right? It's one of my first
yeah,
tricks I put out. Right.
yeah,
So that was another one that I was really proud of. So those between those two tricks was like what started where I'm at today. Like those are the beginnings of why I do what I do and what. So I guess yeah, those are probably my favorites. I definitely create other tricks I love, but I guess those are the ones that kind of have the most like meaning to them.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. I feel like so sensational.
Hmm.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, no,
Yep, sensational. Yep,
that's I think that is when you go to like Penguin. That's I think at the very top. I think. Oh no, that's not on Penguin.
sensational.
It's on
No, I
Vanishing.
didn't.
Is it?
It's also like part of a DVD, like Ultimate Self Worker Tricks Volume 2. I think it's on that.
Yeah,
Like, so I think that's like on the trailer. It's one of the tricks they show is that trick. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So it
yeah.
depends on what. But Vanishing sells it as a download. Now, granted, I'm a different person. That was like I was very young. I was like 50 pounds heavier than I am today. So it's like I look like a different person when you watch that video. And it wasn't really shot like by today's standards very well, right? It was
Oh,
just kind
okay.
of like a so I wish they just take it down and redo it. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. So,
Yeah, I
but
mean like I mean to be honest with you, like with I also want to ask you this question because obviously you created
sure.
so many stuff, so much
Hmm.
stuff. For you, what makes a trick like good? What makes a
Hmm.
trick like go from good to like amazing?
Yeah, I guess for that's a weird one. That's a good question. I'm trying to think. Um, I guess for me, from good to amazing, there's
Because you
always for me is every trick that I find like that I love and I think wow that trick is amazing is there's just one moment, one wrinkle in the trick that really sets it apart of like being impossible, whatever, or improbable.
yeah,
To me, like creating that moment, finding that beat in a trick is what make even sensational. For instance, like why that trick is so impossible is because like um, wait, why is it so amazing? Because like the deck is completely mixed up by different people, and you're using and then at the very end, like, like you have information that you should not have based off what happened prior, right? And so I
Yeah.
feel like in designing that moment, and that was on purpose. Like a lot of my tricks, I start with a really fooling moment, and I just build around it, right? I start with the middle, and I build a beginning and an end. And then my whole goal is to hide that one thing I think it's cool, right? Because most of my audience today are magicians. So like a lot of my audience are just like people. So my goal is to fool a magician these days, right? Because I mainly just do magic for fun. Now, don't think I just create magic just for magicians. I create magic that, I guess my rule is it has to fool a magician, but also be entertaining to a layman. So I need an entertainment factor there as well, right? So a lot of times that's like, for a lot of my tricks, that's like my criteria. I want to be able to fool a magician and it be entertaining. Now, like I said, not every trick follows that, but some of them do, right? So then I'll come up with a very fooling concept. I think, okay, this will fool a magician, this moment. Now, how do I make it? How to make it? So like so what makes it amazing is the magician will know that moment. He goes, wait a second, I followed you up until a point, and then you fooled me. So now I know that's the moment that makes it amazing. So I guess the question is twofold. If my audience is a layman or my audience is a magician, then I have different answers, I guess, to say. That's why I'm kind of struggling to answer it. I guess I gotta pick one and stick to it. So, but I think I think I gave you an answer for magician. So let me finish it off with an answer for layman.
Okay.
So what makes it amazing for layman? I think surprise is always what makes it amazing, right?
Yeah.
So they can follow you up to a point. If they know the ending before the ending gets there, that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes that's good structure because like they know where it's going, but they don't know how you got there, right? So that's okay. But I feel like if you can surprise them, like they think it's gonna be this, but then it's a curveball, and all of a sudden it's something very different and bigger and just so left field. I think that usually gets a good reaction out of somebody, and then it becomes truly amazing effect. Like, holy crap! I thought he was going to do this, but holy crap! Like if the card appears in your pocket a million times, and then the finale is in their pocket. They're like, "What is in my pocket?" That's like a twist because it should never be there, right? So it's like a good twist like that. Yeah.
There are some. I'm just thinking of like tricks while you're saying that. Like the whole like element of surprise. I mean, it's funny because like there are trick. There's a trick called Card to Pocket by the Other Brothers. They kind of like it was like it even surprised me, and I knew what the trick was called. It was like, just go ahead and get out one card. They gave the deck to the spectators, and all of a sudden, that without like any shuffling, that it's not in there. And like the spectators, like they're suspecting to get it out, and they're gonna like sign it or something, and then it's in their pocket. So I definitely agree with you on that. That is definitely like huge if you can like surprise, especially like things with kicker endings is just like amazing.
Like a blank deck kicker ending. You've been holding the cards the whole time, and at the end, the cards they're holding all turn blank. And then I don't have a good example off the top of my head, but like those moments are like I think people usually latch on to like, what? That's so crazy, So, yeah.
You know what? I feel like there are as well. You know what? A trick I really like with a color changing deck that I'm not even kidding. When I saw it, it doesn't have anything to do with color changing deck in the name. It's called Wonder Aces by John Gustafaro. And I was like,
oh yeah, Wonder Aces. Yeah. I love John. Yeah, actually, I talk to John all the time. He's a good friend of mine. He's awesome, man. I know the routine you're talking about.
There's an interview coming up with him. So
oh great. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, I love him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely amazing magician. And that trick, I was watching it and the 4 aces were appearing. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then at the end, when the whole deck turned complete, I was like, wow, I did not see that coming.
It's funny you mentioned him because I was about to give you an example from his book, 1 Degree, because he calls it the ballet cut, right? So he does that cut where the deck turns over as he cuts it.
Yes.
So I think he has I don't know. I think it's like a ballet stunner or funner. It's like I think it's based off a David Williams trick. I can't remember. I have to look it up after this interview. But essentially, it's just that the whole time you think what's going on, and all it does he does this like flourishy cut, and everything just changes color, and you don't know. And you're like, my whole world has been turned upside down. So it's like, so John G, I mean, he's king of that, man. He has so many of those good moments. He's awesome.
Amazing magician. Oh, so Ryan, who is your favorite creator?
Oh man, that's not fair for people listening. I'll go with only dead people, so that way I don't offend anybody. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I guess I'll give you my favorite creators are like people who really inspire my magic, I guess. So like my early inspirations are like Leonard Green, right? He's like one of my favorite guys. I don't really see too much. Obviously, he's not really creating too much anymore, but like a lot of his old stuff, like he kind of got me into card magic. Like I mentioned him earlier, like Joe Barry. He's out there by you guys somewhere, right? I don't know if you ever hung out with Joe. He's a cool dude, and his magic is just phenomenal. So I love his style. It's very like chaos, but like controlled style. And then like one person who's no longer here is another guy named Eddie Fields, which I mention all the time. Anyone that knows me knows I love his book, The Art for Dodges of Eddie Fields. It's written by John Rockerbomber. But yeah, I mean that's like that book's one of the best books I think I've ever read on like magic. It's so good. So I read that. It's one of the books you can read like every month and learn something new from him, kind of thing. It's just so powerful. Yeah. So I would say that those three guys, like my magic is mostly like kind of based. It's like a hybrid of all their styles, and I'm very inspired by their stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because that is really amazing.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, I guess that's definitely that's pretty much where it is now. There's actually one more person I'm leaving out. I'm actually losing his name. I think he's out there in England as well. You want me to look it up, right? I kind of want to look it up. I feel bad not mentioning.
Go for it. Look it up.
I don't know why his name is escaping me right now. He does a lot of estimation work. Like him and Think put out a project recently. Why? You just have a brain fart. Like,
Think.
Fart.
Yeah.
He put it out with Think.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah. Was it an ACAN?
Here it is. I got it. I got his name. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Ross Taylor. If I'm sorry, Ross, I do love you. I do know your name. I just completely brain farted. So Ross, he put out a new book. I think it was like ACANs and different things as well. Like he put out a whole bunch of series of all different kind of effects. But like he has like, I love his PDFs. He puts out little PDFs on like do as I do. His last one was like a do as I do. But his thinking is phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Like Ross is one of those guys, like modern guys today, that I don't even think about it. If he puts out a PDF, I just buy it. I don't care. I just buy it. Yeah. I don't care I don't need to see a trailer. Don't even care. Just give it. But give it to me. Give it to me. I don't know anyone. There's basically no one else I do that for. He's probably one of the only one. He's probably the only guy I do that for. Everyone else, okay, let me see the trailer. I want to watch the trailer. No, him, I'm like, yep, give it to me. I want it. Give it to me. No questions asked.
I don't have time for the stupid trailer. Come on, I'm buying it.
Obviously, it's going to be awesome. You want to put it out. You just start. Some people, you just like. I feel like I never met him in person. I feel like we would get along magically speaking. I think we have similar thinking, but different approaches, which is kind of fun. So
yeah, definitely.
He's cool. Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, like great creators right there. Huge creators are absolutely amazing. I mean, like, just brilliant thinkers, like yourself. And
oh shucks.
Thank you so much for coming on, Ryan.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. We covered like so much.
I'm sure if we didn't cap this thing, we would go on for the rest of the night, and people would be like, "Are these guys ever gonna stop?"
Yeah, you guys didn't hear it, but like you probably saw the cut. Like I cut it, and I was like, "You're probably really busy." but because obviously, Ryan, you have to work. For me, it's late over here.
Yeah.
Like,
for
not
sure.
late.
Sure, it is late there.
It's not that late. It's all right. But yeah, honestly,
no, you're fine. Ryan, I appreciate it. I appreciate getting together. I love doing these things. I love meeting new people. I know we never met, so this is always an honor to meet you and get to know you better. And you're obviously a very well, I don't know how old you are, but you seem you seem very mature for your age, if I had to guess.
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank you
yeah.
very much,
So
Ryan.
an
Thank
honor
you.
to get to know you now. I'm sure 5 years from now you'll be all over the magazines and conventions, and I'm like, oh, I knew that guy when I knew him when he was young.
Other conventions are that if honestly that would be a dream. But thank you, Ryan.
Well, if you keep doing what you're doing, I'm sure you'll be there in no time, my friend. So
Thank you, Ryan. And it's so great to meet you and meet with you and talk with you. It's absolutely amazing.
yeah, my pleasure.
And your magic is amazing. So thank
Well,
you
thank
so
you.
much for coming on as well, because it's not
Sure.
easy getting people on. So when people say yes, and especially when people like the people I've had on are just like super nice and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
great to have you guys on. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on, Ryan. And that
Thank
was
you.
another magic interview. And thank you for coming on.